Hey everybody, hello and welcome to Tie with Postfly. Today's episode we're going to be tying the Iron Sally, which is a great stonefly and golden stonefly imitation dry fly. I fish it all over from Pennsylvania down to the Rockies, really anywhere that you get to see or you'll see hatches of yellow stoneflies. These guys usually come off in around March in my area, and I use them for just about everything. But when the yellow stones are hatching, this is the fly you want to be throwing. Yep. So let's get started. So as you can see, I've got my demo fly here. We're going to start today using the size 14 hook, which comes in your kit, just so you guys can see it a little easier. This fly is very simple to tie, and we'll knock through about 3 or 4 before the broadcast is over. Like I said, this is a great dry fly to learn how to tie, to kind of kick you into your dry flies. That eye's bent. And it's also a really utilitarian pattern, because as you'll see later, you can switch up the colors of the dubbing or the body and make it really easy to manipulate it, change it from a stonefly, a yellow Sally, into a BWO or into an Atom. So the one we're going to do is kind of going to be a gray and yellow and red attractor pattern. So let's get started on this tie. Hey Todd, missed you too. Felt weird not tying. So what you're going to do when you start your thread is you're going to start it about two hook eyes back from the hook. And you'll see why we do this in a little bit. And so we're just going to get my thread started here. There we go. I'm going to trim off my tag. Alright, and then the first material you're going to tie in is your red thread, or red floss. Hey Mark!
Hey, how you doing?
Hey Mark, another Mark. We are ready to tie, we're hanging out. My Thanksgiving was phenomenal, got to hang out with my parents and my pups and my sister, and it was really a really nice family vacation. But now I'm really excited to be back here tying with you guys. So as you can see, what I just did is I tied it in and I kind of tugged it until the thread disappeared, the floss disappeared there. And that's just to save you some material and save you some trimming. And then what we're going to do is cover up this floss all the way down the body of our fly, and then a little bit down the curve of the hook, like that. And we're going to leave that floss there. Let me get some tying fuel. Alright, so once you got that floss in there, the next step is we're going to wrap up to just before the hook point, if you can see that there. And then I'm just going to take my floss and create this fly's signature hot red butt. Alright. I'm going to wrap, so you see I wrapped it around the floss, and like I said, I've been doing in the past. That really helps just secure the material as you're tying, and will save you some frustration of your material slipping out either on the water or during your tie. So we'll get that trimmed. All right. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, we've got another Mark here in the house. So this is the official fly tying event for Marks. I'm just going to make that now. All right, and so our next step is going to be to create a little thin dubbing noodle out of the dry fly dubbing you received in your kit. And really, all we're going to do is wrap this dubbing noodle up to about right here on the hook. So just measure out how much dubbing you think. It can be a slender noodle. It does not need to be big and bulky. You don't want a lot of lumps. You want it to be pretty even with a nice taper on either end. If you choose to use dubbing wax, that can be a great tool. I don't. I use kind of the oil from my skin. Thanks, Anthony. Hey, Mark, ready to go. Alright, so now we're going to wrap our dubbing noodle, making sure to touch the wrap so they overlap and create a consistent body all the way up. Alright, so as you guys can see, I overestimated my dubbing noodle a little bit. So all I'm going to do is just kind of pull that. You can pull that down. I'm going to pull that off the thread. And we're going to save that little tuft for our next tie. Waste not, want not. Alright, so this next step is pretty fun. You're going to take your elk hair, and we're going to trim out just a little bit, a little tuft of this body hair. Maybe about that much. You'll see once this underbody fur comes out how thin it'll be, and then we can make our choice. So I've trimmed it similar to the craft fur last week. You can pinch it with your right hand, and with your left hand you can kind of pull out. Sorry about the lighting, everybody. You can pull out that under fur. We had a light go out and I had to improvise. It'll be better next week. Alright, and then we're going to take that and we're going to put it into our hair stacker, tips down. So not the part you cut, but the tips, the natural tips of the hair. And you're going to drop that into your hair stacker or hair packer, and then what you're going to do is tap that on the table a couple times. If you don't have a hair stacking tool, the best thing, what you want to do is to line up the natural tips of the fibers. And as you're taking it out, you turn the hair stacker on its side, pull it away gently, and then with your left hand, just grab the tips, and then you can just push any excess off of it. And this is going to create your nice little elk hair wing. So now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to measure it out. You want it to be about as long as your hook. You want the wing to just go to the end of the hook. So I'm going to measure that out here on mine. That looks to be about the right length. So I'm going to come in with my left hand here, grab those fibers, lay them down, get a couple really firmer wraps in there. Don't break your thread, but you want to make sure these hairs aren't going to spin on you once every tie's done. So all we're going to do is pull this excess up, trim it with our nice sharp scissors, and we're done with that tuft of elk hair. Alright, so now we're just going to kind of make a nice thread head. So you want this to kind of be smooth and tapered. You don't want it to be a cliff like some tires will say. You want it to be a nice, consistent, kind of coming to a point there. Alright, so our next step, we're going to take one of the yellow hackle tips that came in your pack, and you're going to, let's see if I can do this here. You're going to pull these kind of downy fibers off the bottom with your finger, if you can see what I'm doing next to my fly here. And once you kind of have that exposed stalk, you're going to take it and you want it to be pretty much so the moment you start twisting this hackle that we're starting to get fibers. So I'm just going to reset this. I didn't get exactly the length I wanted. So there we go. So get that in there like so. I'm going to come around here. And trim off that tag. Then I'm just going to move my thread forward to the hook eye to let it hang. Now, our next step. Mark, I've never tied a beard dub fly. Kind of interested to try it now. So now to finish this fly, we're going to create this hackle collar. So all I'm going to do is you're going to do touching wraps, making sure all these fibers are sticking out like that, fanning out, which is going to create the surface tension, which in turn allows this fly to float. So all these little fibers are going to poke on the surface and distribute the weight of the pattern. So now I'm up to the front. I'm going to lay this down, pull my bobbin over the feather, a couple wraps just to secure it. Now that that's secure, I'm going to trim off my excess. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your left hand and you're going to pull these hackles back as best you can as we create our little thread head to finish off our fly. So you just want to make sure that none of these fibers are going to occlude the hook eye or get in the way when you're trying to tie this fly on. Then we get a couple of good wraps in there. There we go. Doesn't have to be pretty again. I know if you guys have been with us for a little bit and watched Tim Flagler's video on this, that man is a magician with a vise. So now what we're going to do to finish up our first yellow Sally is we're just going to take our whip finish tool. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, yep, after you got those whip finishes in, carefully trim your thread, and voila, you've got yourself a yellow Sally, perfect for any golden stonefly hatch, or even just any really, like a sulfur hatch as well in March and April. I know those come up and down the East Coast quite a bit, all the way from the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia down to up to Tennessee, all the way up to Pennsylvania, and even up into Vermont as they kind of make their annual breeding trip. All right, let's do another one. So, just gonna get this guy out of the vise. Get another size 14 hook ready. How's everybody doing? Where's everybody from tonight? I know we've got Mark Parisi's in here from Gloucester. We're just hanging out tying some flies, but where's everybody else from on the interwebs? Alright, getting that set up. Alright, so as you guys remember, to start this pattern, we're going to start our thread about 2 hook eyes back from the eye here. So I'm going to put it in right about, you can see it'll tend to try and slip around, so once you kind of find your spot, get a little bit aggressive with your wrapping, make sure that thread doesn't run away from you. Alright, now that my thread's secure, I'm going to trim this tag end here. That's nice and neat. Southern Middle Tennessee, Conan. Conan? I didn't mean to say Conan. Yeah, I spend a lot of time in Eastern Tennessee, up in the Bristol area. All right. So as you guys remember from the previous pattern, all we're going to do is wrap back a bit, and then we're going to take our strand of red floss that came in your tying kit. All right, And these tying kits are all available on our website. There is a link in the description of this video to buy the Yellow Sally if you want to try your hand at tying it and you didn't already buy. That's there. That'll be discounted until tomorrow morning, and then it'll go back up to the $19.99 price point. So I can only keep it discounted for so long for you guys. So we're going to do, that's running, and then I will introduce next week's tie after we finish this pattern up. But as long as you guys keep buying the kits, we can keep doing this, and we can keep having a lot of fun. Oh, nice, Southern Vermont, Ross. I'll be fishing up that way this weekend. All right, so now that we have our floss tied in, we're gonna wrap our thread like just before, right up to about to the hook point there, as you guys can see. And then I'm going to take my floss and create this nice red, yummy looking tail end of this fly. And again, I'm going to take my thread over, around this floss twice, come in here, and finish up that. So now we're just going to take my nice loon razor scissors, also available on the Postfly site for purchase. I don't tie anything without these things. They are sharp, they are accurate, and they have lasted me almost 2 years, and I've only had to sharpen them occasionally, so I'm in love. I don't think I'll be using any other scissors for a while. Alright, so our next step is our dubbing noodle. And I'll put a link in for the razor scissors into the comments once we finish up here so you guys can snag your own pair. I know you're just looking at mine green with envy. Alright, so I'm taking my tuft of dry fly superfine dubbing, and I'm going to create that nice, tight, slender dubbing noodle here. And you do this by, as you're using your fingers to twist on this dubbing, when you want to make it tighter, just add a little bit more pressure between your thumb and your forefinger, and that'll encourage the fibers to cinch up on each other. Alright, so then we're going to wrap, making sure that these are touching so you get a consistent body up the fly. As you can see, I'm doubling up sometimes to make sure the taper's right. And again, got a little overzealous with the dubbing here. Like I said before, you can just strip it right off, put it on the table for later. And I'm just going to push this dubbing back a little bit. Get that locked in. And as you can see, there's kind of an unruly tuft of dubbing here. So I'm just going to take my scissors in and trim that down. Alright, so now we're ready to stack our wing here using the elk hair in the kit. So I'm going to take my patch of elk hair. I'm going to take another, we're going to go a little stiffer on it. We're going to get a little meatier of a clump this time. So I'm going about, about a pinky's width, my pinky's width of this elk hair. And you're going to want to trim it real close to the hide so you can make sure you have plenty of room to manipulate it. Alright, if you guys remember, hold the tips in one hand, and with the other hand, all you're going to do is brush out all this schmutz and all this underbody fiber and the short hairs. We don't need those. You can do it on both ends really to make sure that there's nobody trying to hitch a ride onto this fly pattern. Alright, and then just like before, we're going to take out our handy dandy hair stacker. I'm going to put my fibers in tips first, so the natural tips are going to be at the bottom, and the stuff you cut is going to be sticking out of the top here. And so to take this out, you're going to turn it 90 degrees on its side, pull it away, and you're going to kind of pinch the tips right there. And now we have all of our nice elk hair tips lined up. So what I'm going to do here is, again, the tips only go till the tail end of the hook. So that looks about good to me. I'm going to take, I have it in my left hand, as you can see, to free up my right to tie it. So I'm going to get one kind of loose wrap, and then I'm going to cinch it down a bit and get that hair to stand up, as you can see, like that. And I'm just going through, I got a little tear in my thread, so I'm just adding a couple wraps to make sure nothing comes loose. So, once you're into that, pull these fibers up, get my nice razor scissors down in there, and trim real close. As you can see, now, see how close I was able to get? I'd like to see a pair of Michael scissors do that. Alright, so now I'm just going to take my thread and make sure that none of those fibers are going to occlude the hook point. Going to wrap it back, give ourselves some space for our hackle. And we're going to grab a set of hackle from here. And like I said before, you're going to want to take a couple of these fibers off the bottom here. As you can see there, I'm going to pull them off. And that just gives me a little bit of room to manipulate the material and not worry about loose fibers. So I'm going to take this, lay it upside the hook, one wrap, two wraps. It's pretty secure. Looks good to me. So I'm going to take my scissors here, come around, and cut my thread because I wasn't paying attention. So to avoid that, just make sure you don't cut your thread. So I just got my thread back on my bobbin. Cool. Alright, sorry about that. Bobbin acting up. And my fat fingers trim my thread, not the feather. There we go. Alright, now we're ready to go. Alright, so now we're just going to, just like we did before. Feathers can be tricky. If you slip, just start over again. It's okay. So once we get a couple wraps and you're pretty okay with the way that head's looking, again, you're just going to wrap the feather in your thread close in. And we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wraps behind the hook eye. So now I know I'm real secure. Then I'm going to come in here, trim that. Put that tip aside. Again, with our left hand, we're going to come in with our fingers and brush back those hackle fibers so we can make our nice, happy thread head there. Alright. Once that is in place, take our handy dandy whip finisher and we're going to do just 2 or 3 wraps, doesn't need to be a lot. And bada bing, bada boom. There's your yellow Sally. Now, if you want to, this would be a great opportunity to put your UV resin or whatever. Kyle. Although in most jobs, being late for fly fishing is not a good excuse. If you're late to a fly tying event because you're out fishing, that's a good one. All right, so yeah, that's our yellow Sally. So real quick, next week's pattern is going to be the Moss's Bass Popper. Now it says Bass Popper, and that's because it works for just about anything that has bass in its name. whether it's rock bass, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, striped bass, sea bass, any bass. Bass like this fly. It's a nice little simple gurgler style pattern that we have had a lot of success on up here for striped bass, and it would definitely be applicable to anywhere that your bass eat on top. So let's do, we're looking at time. Yeah, we got time for a couple more. We're going to do one more with the yellow Sally style, and then we'll get a little tricky with it, and we're going to tie a different colored one with a pack of hairline, super fine dry fly dub. Alright, so I'm going to take out my size 14 hook. Alright. And also, I'd like to say to everyone who is here in the room and everybody who is online, I am so thankful to be able to do this awesome stuff with you guys every week. Wouldn't be able to do it without you guys, so thank you. Let's keep getting these kits, keep these tying nights going, and see what we can grow this thing into, because I think it could. Hey everybody, we are back. Sorry about that. My streaming application crashed. So good thing we were at a little stopping point. So we're going to start fresh back with our brand new tie-in fresh hook. Hope everybody finds their way back here. Sorry about that little technical difficulty. Don't know what happened. The application just kind of crashed. So to everybody who we lost in that, I'm sorry. You will be missed. To everybody who's going to get back on here, welcome. Really excited. And yeah, sorry that video crashed. So let's get started on this tie here. So we're going to start it about 2 to 3 hook eyes back. Wrap all, we're going to get that nice and secure. There we go. And then I'm going to trim this. All right, so our next step is going to be our red tie floss. Application crashed, so good thing we were at a little. All right, so we're gonna get this floss tied in here. Sometimes it helps when you're trapping materials to kind of choke up on your thread. And kind of get yourself a little bit closer into the action. So once we kind of have our floss secured, we're going to go ahead and wrap on back a decent bit down the shank there, like we did in the past 2 ties. Alright, I'm just going to kind of trim off this excess floss while we wait for everybody else to get back in here. Alright, so now I'm going to wrap this back up to the hook point. A couple more, there we go. As you guys can see, we're going to wrap our floss in here now, up the shank of the hook and about up to the hook point. So I'll pull my thread back. I'll show you guys. So once I kind of have this nice floss butt in here, I'm just gonna kind of work my thread back. And again, we're doing this little wrap thing. So over once, over twice, and again, just doing that really helps you control the material where it's tied in. And also make sure that you're pretty confident that it's really secured and it won't unravel on you while you're fishing or tying. Alright, so now that the floss part's done, we're going to take out our yellow dubbing here. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody kind of catch us back up again? I'm sorry about that. I don't know, I haven't had that application crash yet. Alright, so I'm going to take our dubbing and we're going to create our nice little dubbing noodle. And I am using, right now, I'm using something called a right bobbin. which is we sell here in the shop. And I'll put a link to our bobbins in the comments after this. But these really, they have an adjustable tension, which I really like, and they're not super expensive. They're maybe like 20 bucks, 16, 20 bucks for the bobbin, and I really like it because I can tune my drag and really make sure that I'm not going to break thread, which you guys know I'm pretty bad at. And I also just control the tension a little bit better, so I quite like them. All right, and the Loon Ergo bobbin is also a great choice. So now that we've got our dubbing noodle here, we're going to wrap this up the body of the fly all the way up to right where we started our thread. Hey Greg Sherwood, we are tying the yellow Sally, which is a bonkers yellow stonefly pattern. That is, I mean, like I said before, we've used it everywhere from northern Georgia all the way up to Tennessee, even farther up into Pennsylvania for our sulfur fly and our yellow stonefly hatches. So I'm just creating a little bit of a thread base here. You can do this if you want, don't have to. So now we get to the step where we are going to use our hair stacker and our elk hair to create a nice chunky wing. So again, you can take out a pretty thick clump of these fibers. We're going to line up all the tips, and we won't have, and you'll see a lot of the body comes out of them. So once I trim this here, remember, take one hand, grab the fibers, grab the tips, the other hand, work out all this underbody nonsense. We don't need that. We don't need that getting in the way, holding down tension or slipping or whatever else. And like I said, you can do it on both ends to make sure you're not getting all these downy fibers in here. All right. So now I'm going to measure out the tips of this to, again, just about the end of the hook. That's how big you want your wing to be. And now once I have these measured out, I'm going to hold them in my left hand and with my right hand get one wrap, two wraps, really get that hair situated where I want it. And then I'm going to pop my thread. Remember how I said that I really like to do that? Alright, so I'm going to show you guys a quick trick. We're doing here, everything's a teaching moment. So I'm going to thread my thread up through the neck of my bobbin. And just use my mouth to suck the thread through the tube. That's what she said, I'm sure. Nice part is, we're in a pretty easy spot to restart my thread, because it's all in one spot. So hopefully you guys are learning some tips and tricks of how to recover when your thread breaks in a tie, because you guys should be professionals at it by now. Hey Will Daw, I would highly recommend checking out Wade rods and Pelican reels. They are our in-house rod and reel brand, but they are #1, incredibly affordable, and #2, dynamite. I carry one wherever I go on all the rivers. We all fish them. Thousands of other people have. They're just fantastic. And the best part for a guy like myself is they don't break the bank. So let me cut back to you, Will. Pelican reels. And check out, stay tuned for all of our holiday promotion and all of our holiday deals. Those are going to be kicking off on Sunday. So you're going to want to stay tuned because we've got some awesomeness cooked up for y'all. It's going to be nuts and you're going to want to pay attention. So now that we've got our elk hair wing in there, I'm going to pull our thread up. Like I said, I kind of like to have it a little close. And I'm just going to wrap down the excess fibers. and leave my thread hanging right there at the top of the head. And just like we've done before, stop this from moving. I'm going to take a couple of these fibers out, and that way it gives me a nice solid base to tie in. So I'm going to get this, lay it across at an angle. As you can see, I pulled it back through because I didn't wrap really tight, so I was able to manipulate it, and that's why I like to trim those little bottom fibers off, so I can pull and tug at the feather strand to make sure I get it in the right spot I want. Hey everybody! Oh yeah, Todd. The subscription rate on all of our rods and reels. We have a really unique offering here where you're able to, over 6 months, you'll be able to put down payments for a rod, and we deliver the rod as soon as you make that first payment. That rod is coming out to you. Same with our reels, which really makes it even more affordable because I can afford personally $40, $50 a month. But I can't afford $300 right out the gate. It's just not on the cards for myself. But Wade Rods and Pelican Reels has been really great and revolutionary in developing this way to afford phenomenal gear on a 23-year-old's budget. All right, so let's get this hackle in here. So all we're going to do is start wrapping, making sure these fibers are sticking up and behaving, but looks like they are. You don't have to go super fast on this. You want to make sure all these fibers are going to stand up, and you definitely don't want to snap your hackle. So that looks good. So I'm going to do my trick again. Take my thread, wrap it around my feather here twice, and then I'm going to put down a couple of wraps to secure the material. And this was a trick that I was taught by the gentleman who taught me how to tie flies, and I use it for just about everything. And so far I have noticed that I don't have as many flies come unraveled, and my materials are far more effective in staying in place. So there we go. There is our third Yellow Sally. And our last one of this color, we're just going to change the underbody color in this next tie. There we go. A couple whip finishes. And voila. There is your Yellow Sally. These are going straight into my box, guys. I am so ready for spring dry fly fishing to start up again. And this is one of my all-time favorite dry fly patterns, especially for early March, all up and down the Appalachians and into New England. All right, so let's start on our next one. Oh, so we're going to be tying this with microfine dry fly dubbing from Hairline. This stuff is great, comes in a lot of colors. We carry it on our website. I highly recommend it for all your dry fly tying needs. It is the same dubbing we ship you guys, just in a different color. And this is going to create like a really cool kind of like Adams hybrid pattern. It's going to be great for a stimulator or just as a searching pattern wherever you're fishing. I like to use them as a dropper, top fly. We have a really nice blog article on how to tie those that you guys should all check out. I'm going to get out my size 14 hook. Get that at my vice jaws nice and tight. And then I'm going to start my thread. Again, we're going to start this about 2 to 3 hook eyes behind the hook eye. So that, if that makes any sense. Hope it does. And I'm just doubling up, making sure it's real secure. Boop. There's that. So we're going to take another strand of our red floss. And I'm going to start tying it in, and then we're going to tie it in all the way down the shank and a little bit down the hook bend. So I'm going to tie it in here, working it all the way down, and this is just really making sure this floss is secure, because a lot of trout are going to try and pull down the tail of your fly, and this is the spot that's going to get the most teeth marks. So once we have our floss secured, I'm going to wrap my thread back up to the hook point, like that. There we go. And I am going to start wrapping and creating this hot spot on the tail end of this fly. If you guys haven't played around with tying hot spots into your nymphs and dry flies, I highly recommend it. It's nice. Sometimes it is the little bit of edge you need to get that finicky fish to jump for it. Typically, they haven't seen it, so they're going to try and hit it because they don't know what it is. Hey, Braden, this is uni thread. I believe it is 6/0. Sorry for not responding quick enough. It is into Brian Hall. Yeah, it is a 6/0 thread. Really fine, perfect for tying dries and nymphs. I really like it. Aside from my heavy meat hands breaking it, if you take some care and don't tie like a monkey like myself, you won't break it. Alright, so now we're going to get wrapping back. There we go. So now I'm going to take out my hairline super fine dry fly dub, and I'm going to create that same little dubbing noodle we did with the previous one. All we're doing is changing up the color, not the steps. So you're going to follow the exact same steps. If you have other color dubbing, feel free to try this along with me. This is just a kind of cool way to think about fly tying. Every new pattern I learn, I always try to think about what variants can I make out of it. How can I use this pattern to improve my other ones? Or what's something cool we did with this one that I've never seen before, and apply that to the other flies that I tie. Whether you're a beginner or whether you've been tying for a long time, taking a step back and kind of questioning and thinking critically about what you're tying can really improve, number one, your skills, but also just your competency around tying these little intricacies you pick up learning one pattern versus another. There we go. So now we're ready for our elk hair wing. So I'm going to cut another thick tuft out of my elk hair patch that came in my fly tying kit. We're going to trim that. And then just like before, I'm going to put these fibers in my stacker tips for, oh, I forgot to take out the bottom stuff. Catch myself. So again, we're going to grab the tips with our left forefinger and thumb. And then, you see how much stuff just came out of that? That's ridiculous. So, now we've got our wing. It's ridiculous. It's like these animals had to stay warm or something. Alright, so again, we're just going to measure that out to the tail end of our fly, about there. And so I'm going to pull this around, and once these fibers are all set up, like I said, you can get a couple, you can kind of tug it. If you can see the fly move when I tighten, just really get it cinched down and make that hair flare out. It's going to help this fly float. So once I have my wing in there, I'm going to take my scissors, just the tips. There we go. Got a couple rebels here. Take care of those guys. All right. And then we're going to wrap it down. As you can see, I have a couple pesky fibers that are trying to hang out near the hook point. I'm going to get those with my scissors in a second. We're going to roll this back. There we go. That's another trick. You can take, if you have fibers occluding your hook eye, take your left hand and just kind of brush them back from it. A lot of the time you'll find that they'll pretty willingly come back and not cause a big problem. So now we've got our little thread head where we're going to tie in our hackle. Oh, Mark, yeah, you need a pelican reel. They are crazy cool. Could you, Lucas, could you grab me the 2 pelican reels? I would love to show everybody here them.
Yeah, absolutely. Get those.
Yeah, we're getting my helper and our customer service guru, Lucas, is grabbing me our 2 versions of it. We got our 2 prototypes here in the shop, and I'm really stoked to share them with you guys real quick after we finish this tie. So, last step, just like before, we're going to finish up with our yellow hackle.
Are you going to keep teasing them, or are you going to finally show them?
Oh, we've showed them. It's on the Instagram. And if you guys aren't already following Postfly blocks, Wade rods, just put them on the table. Wade rods and pelican reels on Instagram, you guys are missing out. We post awesome content every day. Try to keep you guys entertained in the story. And we're really excited to be sharing. Finally have our Wade rods, or pelican reels ready to share with the world. So we'll be showing those real quick after I finish this tie. Oh yeah, Mark. I'm sure you'll get there. And it's great. You get them on subscription. Just make one payment and that reel is headed your way. So we're wrapping in this hackle, keeping the wraps pretty tight. We want the fibers to be pretty dense up on the head to really create that surface tension that's going to keep this fly afloat. Right, and again, taking my thread. Oh no. Okay, so we're going to reset here. Got a little cocky there. And like I said, it's okay if you slip and the hackle escapes from you. All you got to do is just reset, start over, and be a little bit more careful the next time. A set of hackle pliers can really help doing this. I left mine at home, and we are sold out of our kick butt loon gator dubbing spinner and hackle plier, but they will be back real soon. And all of our tying tools are available on our website, and we also have some awesome holiday tying kits coming out soon that everybody should be excited for. I'm gonna come in here and trim that. There we go. Now we are going to grab our whip finisher that I dropped on the floor. Going to take this and finish this off. There we go. There is our gray body yellow Sally. I would use this as a stimulator, as a searching dry fly pattern. It's just got all the colors that spring and fall, or spring and early season trout really want to see. Mark, I hate hackle as much as you do, except for when I tie it into the back of my streamers because I don't have to deal with it. All right, so I'm gonna come in, trim this thread, and there we have it. Thank you to everybody who stayed tuned with us during that little outage we had there. Again, apologies, the application crashed for some weird reason. But now the moment you have all been waiting for. I would like to introduce you guys to the Pelican Reels LG and SG. These are our new reel brand, and we are so excited when these came out. They've got a super smooth, fully sealed drag. Perfect for saltwater or freshwater, regardless, they'll stand up to it. The drag is crazy smooth. Click on the way out, smooth on the way in. I really like it because for nymphing and for trout, because if you guys can see, let me see if I can show you guys. Didn't work. This thing just spins. So it means you can pick up quickly all the line that you have at your feet when you're casting dries or nymphs. Like that. And I'm in love with these things. They look like, I don't know, they look beautiful. Nice gunmetal finish. And like I said, these are available to buy straight up or by subscription. They're both under $300, which is ridiculous for the quality of the reel. And I don't see why everybody shouldn't have one. I know mine are coming in soon, and I couldn't be more excited to try them out. And yeah, like I said, if you want to keep tying, next week we're going to be doing a gurgler pattern called the Moss's Bass Popper. And if you want to be tying constantly, I highly recommend subscribing to the tying box in the monthly Postfly box. You get the latest patterns. We have great videos like this. This is how we get these patterns that we're tying. They're phenomenal whether you're just learning to tie or you've been tying for a long time. They'll get you out of your comfort zone. You'll learn something new. I love them. And yeah, thank you to everybody who tuned in. We will be back next Thursday to tie the Moss's Bass Popper. Thank you so much. This has been Tie with Postfly, the Yellow Sally, and we will see you guys all next week.
Oh,